Have you ever wondered, is the life you're living truly your own? Since we were young, we've grown up surrounded by paintings already drawn of right and wrong, success and happiness. We learn to follow the rules of the game made by others, to believe in principles we've never truly questioned. And then one day, we feel exhausted. Not because we're weak, but because we're trying to win a game we never chose to play. This video is not just a conversation. It's an invitation to take a closer look at the beliefs that have unconsciously guided you, to ask yourself, what would happen if you dared to rewrite the rules of life your own way? If you're ready, then the journey starts here. Part 1. Is the life you're living real? What if everything you call life, your job, your relationships, your fears or desires, is not objective reality, but just a version you were taught to believe is true? Imagine you've lived in a room since you were a child, and someone painted pictures on the walls showing the outside world. You've never left the room. But because you've seen those pictures every day, you believe they represent the full truth. You call it reality. In the same way, we grow up in an environment full of paintings, beliefs passed down unconsciously from parents, teachers, and society. We're taught that we must be obedient to be loved, that we must excel to be worthy, that we must have money to feel proud. Then we call those things truth, when in fact they are just collective perceptions repeated long enough. Have you ever asked, who was the first person to say that working 40 hours a week means success? Who decided that by age 30 you must own a house, by 35 you must have kids? Maybe you're running in a race you never chose to enter, and you're tired not because you're incapable, but because you're trying to win at a game with the wrong rules. The story of the baby elephant. There was once a baby elephant tied with a thin rope. It tried to escape, but couldn't. When it grew up, even though it had more than enough strength to break free, it never tried again, because in its mind, it still believed it was bound. Are you living with an imaginary rope? A question for you. How many of the things you believe about yourself, about the world, about your potential, were truly chosen by you, and not chosen for you by someone else? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 2. Why do some people rise like kites in the wind, while others stay stuck no matter how hard they try? Have you ever seen someone who seems to turn everything they touch into opportunity? They're not necessarily the smartest, the hardest working, or even the most talented, yet they attract good things like a breeze lifting a kite. Meanwhile, others try relentlessly, study diligently, persist endlessly, but still go around in circles. Why? The answer doesn't lie in the number of hours worked or the level of effort, but in something few people notice: the invisible map in the mind. Successful people don't just act differently, they think differently. They believe that reality is flexible, not fixed, that the rules of the game can be negotiated, and that no one is forcing them to live according to a pre-written script. Meanwhile, those who remain stuck often believe everything has already been set, and they are merely following orders. A comparison image. Given the same boat, the first person sees the waves and thinks, the wind is rising, I can go farther. The second person sees the same waves, but retreats, thinking, the sea is rough, it's dangerous. The difference doesn't lie in the circumstances, but in the perspective. And perspective is programmed by a core belief. Can I change reality? Or must I endure reality? A short story. Period. Two students receive a bad grade. One thinks, I'm not smart enough. The other thinks, I need to change the way I study. One closes a door. The other opens a new path. A question for you. In the area where you feel stuck, are you playing by your own rules, or living by rules someone else set long ago? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 3. Belief is the control center of perception. Imagine you're wearing a special pair of glasses, but you've worn them since childhood, so long that you've forgotten you're even wearing them. Through those lenses, the world appears in a certain color. Some people wear gray glasses and see a world full of risks, limits, and competition. Others wear green glasses and see a world of opportunity, learning, and creativity. Those glasses are your beliefs. Beliefs aren't just the things you say out loud. I think this. I think that. Beliefs are the way you see the world. The first filter that decides what gets into your mind and what gets left out. A scientific view. Your brain has a system called the RAS, the reticular activating system. It acts like a radar, only showing you what you've tagged as important. What you believe is what you see, and vice versa. Have you ever learned a new word and suddenly started seeing it everywhere? Not because the word just got added to the world, but because your RAS just switched out of silent mode. Now imagine this. If you believe I'm not good enough, then your RAS will search for every bit of evidence to support that. A criticism, a small mistake, a moment of silence, all get labeled. See? I knew I wasn't good enough. A story. Someone believes, I will never be truly loved. And in every relationship, they only notice signs that the other person will eventually leave, even if that's not the reality, but they chose to see it that way. A question for you. If you are the one programming your brain's RAS radar, what are you telling it to scan for? Opportunities or problems? Belief that you can or belief that you can't? Which one will help you see a new path? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 4. The story of Henry Ford and the car for the common man. In the early 20th century, cars were a symbol of luxury, reserved for the upper class. Back then, cars were assembled by hand, extremely expensive, and seen as toys for the wealthy. No one believed that an average person could even dream of owning a car. No one, except Henry Ford. Ford wasn't the first to build a car, but he held a belief that no one else in the industry shared. What if cars weren't luxury items, but vehicles for everyone? That question, which seemed naive, shook the entire industry. He didn't just build cars, he restructured the entire production system. Ford invented the modern assembly line, reduced costs, increased efficiency, and produced the Model T, a car so affordable that working-class people could own one. The result, 0.000. Cars were no longer a distant dream, they became a common reality. The question, what if everyone could drive, opened up a new era. And Ford became someone who transformed society, not because he had the technology, but because he had a belief that went against the crowd. The lesson here isn't just about the auto industry. Each of us lives within unspoken rules. This job must pay poorly. That field has a future. This dream is only for special people. But what would happen if, like Ford, you dared to ask, what if the opposite were true? A reminder. Every major advancement in society, from gender equality to airplanes to the internet, began with someone who dared to ask, why does it have to be this way? And what if it didn't? A question for you. Is there an unspoken rule you're following that you've never questioned? If you dared to doubt something everyone else believes, what new direction might your life open up to? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 5. Are the rules you live by really yours? From a very young age, you began learning how to live, not through conscious choice, but through absorption. You heard adults say, money doesn't grow on trees. You must study hard to become someone. Dreaming is foolish. Girls shouldn't try to do big things. These phrases were repeated so often that you stopped questioning them and simply believed they were true. But here's the hard truth. Not everything you believe is true. They're just familiar. From a philosophical point of view, The most dangerous thing isn't living in lies. It's living inside old beliefs that you've never questioned. Think back. How many times have you done something because your parents wanted it? Or chosen a career path because it's safe? How many times have you stayed silent just because you were afraid of being judged? And over the years, these actions formed an unspoken rulebook. You must be like this. You're not allowed to be like that. One day, you suddenly feel like you're living inside a box, built by those very rules. A metaphor. A fish raised in a small pond believes that the world is only as big as the pond, until one day, it swims into the river and then the ocean, and realizes the rules of the pond don't apply to the sea. The issue isn't that you follow rules, it's that you don't know whose rules you're following. A short story, period. There was a girl who was talented in art, but chose to study accounting because her family said, "Art can't feed anyone." 10 years later, she felt like she was living someone else's life, even though she had a stable job. It wasn't until she dared to start drawing again that she finally felt truly alive. A question for you. What rules in your life have you never chosen, yet you're still living by them? If today you could rewrite your life rulebook, what's the first thing you would change? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 6. Reality is a game, and you are the one who writes the rules. Have you ever noticed that every game begins with one thing? A rule book. Chess has its own rules. Football has its own rules. Every game comes with boundaries, roles, and win conditions. And if you play by the rules, you can win. But here's something few people stop to consider. Life is also a game, and many of its rules are imagined. No one is born with an instruction manual on how to live. Yet over the years, you were taught that. You must do well in school to have value. You must marry before 30 to be stable. You must work 8 hours a day to be considered hardworking. You must have a house and a car to be successful. But the truth is, these rules aren't absolute truths. They are collective agreements, just like the rules of a game. And the special thing is, rules can be rewritten. The story of a girl. A girl once worked a stable banking job but felt suffocated and without meaning. She quit to become a traveling yoga instructor. To society, she was someone who quit the game, but to herself, she was simply changing the rules. A metaphor. In video games, players can use mods to change characters, environments, or rules, turning the game into the version they want. So if you could mod the game of your life, what would you change first? The first thing you need to realize is not that you have to win this game, but that you can choose the rules of the game. And that is a superpower most of us forget. A question for you. Whose game are you playing? If today you had the right to rewrite the game of life your own way, what would be the first rule you'd create? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 7. Your eyes see what you believe, not what's really there. There's a quiet but powerful truth. You don't see the world as it is. You see it through the lens of what you believe. Neuroscience shows that our brain receives millions of bits of information every second, but it only processes a tiny fraction. So how does it decide what to focus on? The answer is belief. Your brain acts as a smart filter, selecting what fits what you already believe to be true. RAS, reticular. Activating system is the part of the nervous system responsible for filtering information. When you believe the world is full of danger, RAS scans your surroundings and highlights negative news, signs of failure, and suspicious people. But if you believe opportunities are everywhere, RAS does the opposite, a more relatable illustration. When you just learned a new word or started wanting a particular item, suddenly you see it everywhere. In reality, It was always there. You just hadn't chosen to notice it before. So the real question isn't, what's in the world? It's, what beliefs are you using to look at it? A short story. Period. Someone who believes everyone wants to take advantage of me will always be on guard, always defensive. And eventually, they attract untrustworthy relationships. Not because they're unlucky, but because they unconsciously create a reality that matches what they believe. In contrast, someone who believes, I deserve kindness, will behave with openness and sincerity, and naturally attract the same in return. Not because of luck, but because their perspective has been reprogrammed. A question for you. If today you changed your core belief, from limitation to possibility, from fear to curiosity, what might you start to see that you've been missing all along? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 8. Most of us are programmed to overlook the good. From a very young age, you were taught how to spot danger. When you ran near the stove, someone shouted, "That's dangerous." When you got a math problem wrong, someone scolded, "Mistakes are not allowed." When you dreamed and doodled on the wall, someone complained, "That's not serious." And bit by bit, your brain learned a silent lesson. The world is full of risks, and you must always be alert. Of course, the danger detection system is necessary for survival. But if it's overused, if you're only trained to spot what's wrong, what's lacking, what's worrisome, then you'll become someone with a superpower, to find problems everywhere. A real-life example. Someone walks into a room and instantly notices crooked chairs, dim lighting, someone yawning. At the same time, they don't see the person smiling at them, the beautiful painting on the wall, or the gentle scent of coffee. Their brain has been programmed to prioritize the negative. From a scientific perspective. The negativity bias is a survival mechanism passed down from our ancestors, helping them avoid predators, toxins, and threats. But in modern life, if you don't know how to uninstall the program, you'll live with your internal alarm system always on, and never see the peace that's already there. A short story. Period. Someone who was once betrayed later believes no one can be trusted. Even when someone loves them genuinely, they still suspect, test, and keep their distance. The result? The relationship falls apart. Not because of the other person, but because their internal warning filter never turned off. A question for you. What would happen if you allowed yourself to pay more attention to what's right, what's beautiful, what's abundant? And if you reprogrammed your brain to notice small, everyday miracles, could your entire reality begin to shift? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 9. The first exercise. Auditing your reality. Before you can change something in your life, you need to look at it directly, not through the lens of victimhood, not through the filter of judgment, but with honesty and curiosity. Just like a business audits its finances to see where the money is going, you need to audit your inner reality. Which beliefs are running the show? Which thoughts are repeating? And which areas of your life feel stuck because of unspoken rules you don't even remember learning? A practical exercise, incredibly simple but deeply powerful. Take a sheet of paper or a special notebook for this journey. Draw 3 columns. 1. In column 1, write down the 3 areas where you feel most stuck or dissatisfied right now. Example: money, relationships, career. 2. In column 2, write the very first thought that comes to mind when you think of each area. Don't edit, just write it honestly. 3. In column 3, write, what is the belief underneath that thought? This is the key step. You're starting to dig down to the root. Example illustration. Period. Money. I'm always short on cash. Belief. I'm not good enough to earn more. Relationships. Maybe no one really loves me. Belief. I'm not worthy of love. Career. I never seem to move up. Belief. I'm not remarkable enough to be recognized. A transformational perspective. Those automatic thoughts are not the truth. They are habits. And habits can be changed. Look at your page like a mirror. Not to judge, but to recognize. Because you can't heal what you haven't yet named. A question for you. In the 3 areas where you feel stuck, how much of it is due to circumstance? And how much is due to the story you're telling yourself? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 10. Rewrite the script, turning limiting beliefs into liberating ones. If your life were a movie, then your beliefs would be the script. And here's what matters. You're not just the actor, you're also the screenwriter. The problem is, most of us are reenacting old scripts, written by parents, teachers, society, or past experiences. For example, period. I'm not good enough is a script written by a child who was once criticized in front of the class. I don't deserve to be loved could be the opening line of a heart that was once abandoned. These stories take root deep in the subconscious, like memorized lines in a play, and eventually they become personal truth. But the beautiful thing is, any story can be rewritten. Practical exercise. Rewrite the old script. 1. Go back to your reality audit page from part 9. 2. Choose one negative belief you discovered. For example, I'm not good enough to succeed. 3. Now rewrite it, not just with positive words, but with a version you can gradually believe in. For example, I'm learning and getting better every day. I have the ability to learn any skill I need. I don't know how yet, but I will figure it out. Important tip. Your new belief must feel alive. Don't write something like, I'm a billionaire from outer space, if deep down you don't believe it. Write something positive, yet reachable. Something you're willing to test out. Then, read your new script every morning. Not like a mantra, but like a fresh instruction manual for your brain. Remember, your brain is a learning machine, and it takes commands from you, from a neuroscience perspective. Each time you repeat a new thought, you're creating a new neural pathway. And with enough repetition, the old pathway weakens, like grass growing back when you stop walking the same trail. A question for you. If today you were asked to write the next chapter of your life, what would be the first sentence you choose? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 11. The energy you emit is an invitation to the universe. There are people who walk into a room and you immediately feel warmth, magnetism, and confidence, even before they say a word. And then there are others who seem to lower the whole atmosphere, simply because they carry storms within them. We often think of energy as something related to electricity or the sun. But in truth, energy is something you emit every day, through your eyes, your voice, your posture, your presence. And here's what most people don't realize. The world responds to that energy, from a spiritual and also physical perspective. Everything vibrates, humans too. You emit a frequency, and just like a radio, you tune in to what matches that frequency. This isn't magic, it's resonance. If you live in a state of anxiety, scarcity, and doubt, you'll attract more reasons to worry, more situations that make you feel inadequate. But if you live in trust, gratitude, and openness, you begin to attract experiences that mirror that back to you. A short story, period. Someone constantly believed, no one ever helps me. And sure enough, he always felt alone. Until one day, he decided to try, believing help is always available. And suddenly, he began to notice the people who had extended their hands, but he hadn't seen them before. The world didn't change, only the energy he emitted did. Practical exercise. Check the energy you're sending out. 1. Pause for a moment, close your eyes, and ask, what frequency am I radiating right now? 2. If the answer is fear, exhaustion, or anxiety, Don't blame yourself. Just notice it. 3. Then ask, what energy do I want to radiate? Confidence, peace, optimism? 4. Take a deep breath and choose to shift your internal state before taking action. A question for you. If today you were an invisible broadcast tower, what frequency would you want the world to pick up from you? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 12. Let go of the emotional brick that's weighing down your soul. Imagine you're walking a long road, carrying a backpack. Each time you get angry at someone, fear something, regret the past, or blame yourself, you place another brick in the bag. At first it's fine, but over time, the backpack becomes too heavy. You get tired, you lose direction, you stop seeing the beauty of the path, because you're just trying to push forward. Metaphor. Negative emotions aren't your enemies. They're just bricks that haven't been set down properly. We often think we're moving past pain by ignoring it. But in truth, when you deny your emotions, you're just carrying them with you. And then, in an unexpected moment, a word, a look, a memory, they come crashing back like a brick falling on your foot. From a psychological perspective, repressed emotions don't disappear. They get stored in the body and unconscious mind. They affect your health, your behavior, and even your future decisions. So how do you put the brick down? You don't need to do anything grand. You just need honesty and willingness. Exercise. Gently release one brick. 1. Write down one thing that feels heaviest for you right now. An unresolved anger, an unaccepted failure, someone you haven't forgiven. 2. Close your eyes. Imagine that thing as a brick in your hand. Heavy, rough, maybe even cold. 3. Now, picture yourself gently setting it down on the ground. 4. Feel your back lighten, not because the world has changed, but because you're no longer carrying it. A short story, period. A man held resentment toward his father for 30 years. Every time he thought of him, he felt small and wounded. Only when he wrote a letter, not to send, but to release the emotion, did he finally start living his own life, instead of being the hurt son. A question for you. What brick are you carrying that no longer serves you? And if you set it down today, how much farther and lighter could you go? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 13. 3 ways to raise your vibrational frequency and align with a new life. If life is a piece of music, then each of us is an instrument. You can't attract a gentle symphony if you're vibrating with sad, broken notes. Likewise, you can't step into a reality filled with opportunity, love, and abundance if inside you're broadcasting a frequency of lack, anxiety, and doubt. Core principle. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So how do you change what you resonate with? Not by forcing fake positivity, but by transforming from within through energetic habits. Here are 3 simple yet powerful ways to raise your vibrational frequency each day. 1. Gratitude, the gateway to the present. Gratitude isn't just a kind act, it's a high vibrational state. Each morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They can be very small. A warm cup of tea, the morning sunlight, a caring friend. But don't just write, feel it. Let the gratitude spread through your body like a gentle current. Side effect: when you're grateful for the small things, you'll be given the big ones. 2. Visualization, the doorway to the future. Spend 5 minutes each day visualizing the life you desire as if it's happening right now. Visualize using all 5 senses: seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, feeling. Feel the joy, the fulfillment, the confidence. When you live the future state in advance, you bring it closer. Tip for you. Visualization isn't daydreaming. It's how you train your brain to recognize what you want as a possible reality. Third movement. The Kickstarter of energy flow. Energy doesn't flow through a still body. Walk, dance lightly, stretch, shake, sway to music. Anything that gets you out of freeze mode. When your body moves, emotions begin to flow, ideas spark, and you come alive again. A question for you. If you dedicated just 10 minutes a day to clearing your inner energy, after 1 month, what frequency would you be vibrating at? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 14. You are not a victim. You are the creator of your reality. One of the biggest turning points in spiritual growth is when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this inviting me to change?" The line between someone controlled by life and someone creating life isn't defined by circumstances. It's defined by where you stand, victim or creator. Victim mindset is when you believe you're being carried by someone else's current. I can't because of my boss, because of my family, because society won't allow it. Creator mindset is when you acknowledge, I don't control everything, but I control my response. And that response is my power. An inspiring story. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. He could have become bitter, vengeful, and angry at the world. But he chose a different path: forgiveness, reconciliation, leadership. He didn't let his circumstances decide who he would become. The truth is, no one else lives your life for you. No one thinks for you. No one feels on your behalf. And no one can extract the lesson from your life's challenges except you. A small but powerful exercise. Switch roles today. 1. Think of a situation where you feel you're being treated unfairly or feel stuck. 2. Write down, how am I playing the victim in this? 3. Then write, if I were the creator, how would I choose to see this? What would I learn from it? Tip for you. Sometimes you can't change the situation, but you can always change the meaning you assign to it. A question for you. In which area of life are you living like someone being pushed around? And if today you stood tall as the screenwriter, how would you write the next chapter? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 15. Rewrite your belief system. The invisible rules secretly running your life. Did you know that most of your behaviors, decisions, and limitations don't come from true freedom, but from invisible rules you don't even realize exist? These are unspoken laws, silent commands etched into your mind since childhood. Stability means safety. Success equals a house, a car, a job title. If I fail once, it means I'm not capable. Love must involve sacrifice and suffering. These rules weren't written by you. They are inherited beliefs, passed down from family, society, or even past pain. You've repeated them so many times that you now believe they're truth. A deeper insight. These hidden laws don't just affect your choices, they shape your entire reality. They're like an outdated operating system. If you never update it, you'll keep running old software in a completely new world. Exercise. Unmask the hidden rule. 1. Choose one area of life where you feel limited. For example, money, career, relationships. 2. Write down the first thought that comes to mind about that area. For example, I'm not good at making money. 3. Ask, what belief is underneath this thought? It might be, money only comes to special people. Or, I have to struggle to deserve money. 4. Finally, ask, is that belief really true, or is it something I learned from someone else? An inspiring story. A man believed art can't make money because his father had been a failed artist. It wasn't until he allowed himself to create again, without shame, that he realized it wasn't that art couldn't sustain him. It was the fear of repeating the past that kept him stuck. A question for you. What law are you living by that you never actually chose? And if today you had the power to rewrite your life's rulebook, which one would you erase first? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 16. Small actions, big results. How to reinforce new beliefs daily. You can rewrite your beliefs. You can shift your perception. But if it only stays on paper or in your mind, it hasn't yet become your inner truth. What turns a new belief into a living reality is action. From a neuroscience perspective, every time you do something, you strengthen a neural pathway. The more you act on a belief, the more your brain registers it as real. To put it simply, you believe what you do, and you do what you believe. This explains why so many people read self-help books, watch motivational videos, write pages of positive affirmations, yet their lives don't change. They haven't embodied the belief with their body, their choices, their steps. A simple metaphor. You can't build muscle by imagining going to the gym. Likewise, you can't build belief muscles without action at the root. Exercise, micro-action practice, 1 step a day. 1. Choose a new belief you've rewritten from part 10 or 15. Example, I can learn any skill I need. 2. Find a very small, easy action to express that belief. Example, watch a 10-minute video on a skill you want to learn. Enroll in a course. Write down 3 things you learned today. 3. Do it for 7 days straight. Each day, check off, I did it. Then observe. What's changing in how you see yourself? A short story. Period. Someone who feared social interaction began by saying hello to 1 stranger a day. After 30 days, he joined a public speaking club. Not because the fear disappeared, but because he acted despite it. A question for you. If today you did 1 small thing to reflect the person you want to become, what would it be? And if you repeated that for 30 days, would you still be the same person? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 17. The snowball effect. When small actions create big change. Change doesn't have to begin with decisions that shake the world. In reality, lasting transformation usually starts very quietly, like a tiny snowball rolling from the mountaintop. At first, it's just a small clump of snow, but if it keeps rolling, even slowly, it grows, it gains weight, and can become an unstoppable force. The snowball effect is a powerful principle of behavioral psychology. Every small action you repeat not only creates results, it builds momentum. And once you have momentum, you no longer need to force yourself. You are carried forward by the momentum itself. The lesson is simple but profound. Small actions done consistently will always beat big inspiration done once. Real life story. A woman wanted to write a book but kept postponing it, thinking she wasn't ready. One day she decided to write just 200 words each morning. Only 200. A year later, she had her first manuscript. She didn't wait to be ready. She let the snowball start rolling. Exercise, start your own snowball. 1. Choose 1 area you want to change. Health, money, skills, creativity. 2. Write down the smallest action you can take daily, something so easy you can't make excuses. Oh, drink a glass of warm water. Oh, save $1. Oh, write down 1 idea. Oh, send 1 encouraging message. 3. Create a tracker. Tick 1 box each day. After 7 days, ask yourself, where is my snowball rolling to? Tip for you. The power isn't in the size of the action. It's in the unbroken consistency. A question for you. If you started a small snowball today and didn't stop rolling it for 1 year, how different would your life be 1 year from now? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 18. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Action is the antidote to fear. We often wait for the feeling of not being afraid before we begin to act. But this is the paradox that keeps many people stuck. Courage doesn't come first, it shows up in action. Fear is a natural mechanism, wired to protect you from danger. But in the modern world, many fears don't come from tigers or cliffs. They come from things we imagine. What if I fail? What will people think? What if I'm not good enough? From a psychological perspective, your brain doesn't clearly distinguish between real danger and imagined threat. An unsent email, an unwritten post, can trigger the same fight or flight response as facing real danger. But you don't have to wait for your heart to calm down before moving forward. What you need is action, even while afraid. Metaphor. Action is like a flashlight shining into a dark corner. Each step you take lights up the space, and you realize, oh, there's nothing scary here. It was just a shadow. Exercise. The 60-second freeze breaker. 1. Choose one thing you've been avoiding because of fear, e.g., call someone, send an email, post a video, speak your truth. 2. Set a 1-minute countdown timer. 3. In those 60 seconds, take the first step. No thinking, no planning. Make the call. Write the first line. Hit send. Just begin. A short story. Period. A man was terrified of public speaking. His hands would sweat just thinking about it. He started by speaking aloud to himself in the mirror every morning. After 30 days, he posted his first video. 6 months later, he gave his first live talk. Not because the fear disappeared, but because he acted even while afraid. A question for you. If today you stopped waiting to not be afraid and started moving even while trembling, what would shift inside you? And what would you move closer to? Leave a comment below so we can talk more about it together. Part 19. Aligning belief, energy, action, the power trio of transformation. You may have a new belief, you may raise your energetic frequency, you may take daily action, but if these 3 elements are not aligned, you'll still feel something's off. Like a 3-legged chair. If one leg is weak, the whole structure wobbles. Belief is the map. Energy is the fuel. Action is the wheel. For deep and lasting change, you need to believe, feel, and act in the same direction. A common example. You say, I believe I deserve a better job. But every morning you wake up feeling drained, heavy, and you don't send a single application. The result? The universe can't hear you, because you're broadcasting on a mismatched frequency. On the other hand, if you believe, I'm growing every day, you feel lighter, more joyful, and you send one new email, read one page each morning, then your internal system begins to run smoothly. Exercise. Align the 3 forces at once. First belief. Choose something you want to build. E.g., I can grow meaningful work with good income. 2. Energy. Ask, what emotion will help me sustain this belief? Confidence, excitement, gratitude. Choose one emotion and live in it for 2 minutes through breath, visualization, or music. Action 3. Ask, what is one small thing I can do today to reinforce this? Write it down and do it before the day ends. Applied perspective. When you drive change with all 3 wheels, you don't need to push the car by hand anymore. The system will begin moving you forward. A question for you. In a goal you're working toward, are you missing belief, energy, or action? And if today you aligned all 3, what might begin to shift? Part 20. When belief, energy, and action align, you create a quantum leap. Not all change comes from long, drawn-out effort. Sometimes, just one moment, one perfect alignment of belief, energy, and action can lift you into an entirely new reality. That's when you stop taking small steps and make a leap. This phenomenon is called a quantum leap. Not because you did a lot, but because you did the right thing, with the right mindset, at the right moment. Imagine an airplane. It doesn't need to taxi down the runway for hours. It only needs to reach the right speed, with the right thrust, at the right angle, and it takes off. Life works the same way. Real life example. A man had been learning a skill for 2 years, but never dared to start. One day, he woke up with a different feeling, the courage to believe, "I'm ready." He sent his first manuscript, signed up for a program, and within 3 months his career transformed. Not because that day was special, but because he was aligned. The secret isn't in time. The secret is in your inner frequency. When belief, energy, and action meet at the same point, you overcome your own resistance. You no longer need motivation, because you become the flow. Exercise. Begin your own leap. 1. Write down one thing you want to create in your life. No limits, no hesitation. 2. Ask, what would I need to believe for this to be possible? 3. Ask, if I were already living this reality, how would I feel each day? 4. Ask, what can I do today? As if that reality is already near. Note: a quantum leap isn't necessarily a huge achievement. Sometimes it's an internal shift that causes everything around you to respond differently. A question for you. If you're standing at the door of a new reality, and all it takes is one step with full belief, energy, and action, are you ready to take it? Part 21. Turn transformation into a lifestyle. Keep the flame of awakening alive. True transformation doesn't happen in moments of brilliance, but in the quiet, repeated, and sometimes boring days. When you no longer feel bursts of inspiration, but still continue forward as if it's part of your very being. A deeper insight. Wisdom doesn't lie in what you know. Wisdom lies in how you live it, every day. Many people fall into the trap after an inner awakening. They have a wow moment, and then return to old patterns. Not because they lack desire, but because they lack a system to sustain the flame. Real transformation is not an event. It is a way of living. So how do you keep the flame of awakening alive? Exercise. Design your inner support ecosystem. 1. Daily habit. Choose one small thing you do each morning to reconnect with your new self. E.g., 5 minutes of meditation, 3 lines of gratitude, 1 affirmation, 10 gentle stretches. 2. A space that reflects who you want to become. Transform your desk, bedside, or screen into an anchor point of awareness. You can place images, quotes, colors, or music that remind you of your journey. 3. Resonant people. Every person you meet is a frequency, so choose wisely. Build a circle of people who evoke the highest version of you. Not many, just aligned. Real life story. A woman kept returning to her old self after every inspirational course, until she created a simple system. Write gratitude every morning, join a support group, turn off her phone for the first hour of each day. From then on, she didn't need motivation, because her life became her fuel. A question for you. If you want to live as a new version of yourself, what seeds of habit, space, and people are you planting so that version can take root? Part 22. The end, but really, the beginning. You've just gone through a journey, not of logic, but of awakening. From questioning reality, releasing old beliefs, raising your vibration, taking micro-actions, to building an ecosystem that supports your new self, you've begun to rewrite the story of your life. But this is not the ending. This is the door to the life that truly belongs to you. One final insight. Life doesn't promise to be easy, but it always walks with those who dare to live authentically. And that person is you. There will be times you fall back. There will be days you feel like you're reverting to your old self. But that doesn't mean you failed. It's a test. Will you choose yourself again today? Final exercise. Begin your real journey. 1. Rewrite one old belief you've uncovered, from any part. 2. Write the new belief you choose to replace it. 3. Take one small action in the next 24 hours to live as the person who holds that belief. 4. Share it with at least one trusted person. No need for a grand declaration, just one honest step. Closing story. Period. There was a man who watched hundreds of self-development videos, but his life didn't change. Until one day, he turned off the screen, sat down, and wrote what he truly wanted. That day, he didn't learn something new. He lived what he already knew. That was the beginning of a new chapter. No fanfare, no perfect timing. Just the courage to begin. Final question for you. If you don't rewrite the story of your life, who will? And if not today, then when? Remember, the world doesn't need a perfect version of you. The world needs you, whole, honest, and evolving. Thank you for walking this path with me. And now, walk forward in your own way.